For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you've really
run out of time, and we've got to talk about your latest.
I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? I know that we are living in very challenging times right now. As a matter of fact, that's the word that I chose for today, challenge. I know that all of us have challenges, and we have a lot to get through. And my heart and my prayers and my thoughts go around the world right now for everyone. But hopefully for the next hour, I want all of us to be able to take a deep collective breath. And I want us to hopefully for the next hour to be able to celebrate each other, to think of positive thoughts, and to celebrate those that we hold dear and the things that we hold dear, and to celebrate life, art, and again, each other. I can't stress that enough. And today I've reached out to 5 people who matter a lot to me. They're all standing in the wings. Some of you may know if you've been following on social media today, because they've been dropping hints along the way that they're on the show. None of them know who's coming on first, but I am going to surprise one of them right now. So they're all sitting there waving their hands, waiting to come on. And I'm going to bring on Deborah Stone as our first guest today. Deborah, I am so glad. And she's drinking out of the Richard Skipper Celebrates mug, which, you know, you can, one of our lucky viewers is going to be able to take one home today. If they put in their comments, #challenge. And I want to begin by asking you, what is the biggest challenge that you have faced this week, and how did you get through it? Because we want to talk about getting to the other side of our challenges.
I understand. First and foremost, well, a positive thing that actually Elliot and I were challenged with yesterday morning, dealing with the horrendous news. We wanted to do something positive and loving, and we decided we would take flowers down to the Ukrainian church on 7th Street, which is not too far from where we live. And because we didn't know what else to do, and we wanted to just do something rather than sit in our little bubble and feel awful, you know, and helpless. So we did go down. The church was locked, but we were able to pass the flowers along. We were also interviewed by Reuters, Channel 7, and NYU students. So, I mean, because we were the only ones doing it, you know, we were the only ones there. And so that was a challenge, and we got through it. And I guess the next biggest challenge was getting through the week after having a wonderful rehearsal with John Cook, my wonderful music director, for my brand new show coming up in June. Little plug here.
Plug away. That's what this show is about.
Wonderful rehearsal with him on Monday, and that was inspiring to me. And the challenge, of course, is being at this, what I call the larval stage of a show, where it's just sort of amorphous and you have no idea really, like this. I was able to finally hit the ground running on some of those tunes, and so I'm feeling more positive about that, Richard.
So do you have a theme for the show? What is the show about? Give us a little insight.
Have you heard of the term chiaroscuro? Chiaroscuro, light, dark. That's going to be the name of the show. Some people know what the word is, others don't. They will figure it out as the show progresses. That's going to be
out of the dark, and we're going into the light. So
up, down, happy, sad, dark, light, in, out, or all these contrasts. Yeah.
So one of the fun things that I like to do is I like to start with a random question, and I've pulled a random question that I have not even looked at.
Oh, good. I can't
wait. A random question for today, and I love this random question.
Good.
This is great. It's perfect for today. Okay. What's the first music that you bought?
The first music that I bought? I remember one of the first albums I bought. Does that count?
That absolutely it counts.
Okay. I wonder if it came before Meet the Beatles or after. But I pops into mind Cream's album, Disraeli Gears. I got it for $2 at Sam Goody over here on 42nd and 3rd. Yeah.
I will tell you the very first album that my mom bought for me was Liza Minnelli, the singer. So, Mom, I owe it all to you. I got that and the best of Judy Garland because she knew that I loved Judy Garland. Those were the very first albums that I ever got. So I want to ask you, speaking of music, and we're wrapping up this week, what piece of music did you listen to this week that really inspired you on some level, whether it was at a show that you saw, something you saw on television, or a piece of music that really elevated you this week?
Just this morning, I chose to listen to Hildegard von Bingen, who was a visionary from medieval times, and I once in a while will put on chant, but I listen to different music every day. I had Joni Mitchell album on the other day, and then I had a Steely Dan revisiting of the Royal Scam. So I would say maybe the Royal Scam, it inspired me, the Steely Dan album, because I remember it so well, and it's such an amazing album, and the musicianship is phenomenal. The talent and the words, everything about that album was perfect. I think our lives have been very different, Richard.
I think so too.
But here we are together as friends, and I think that's great.
Well, I love the fact that we're friends. And speaking of friends, I'm going to bring on my oldest friend. And as I bring on my oldest friend, take a sip from that incredible mug that he designed. Glen Charlow and I go back further than I think any other friend that I have out there. Glen was the one who said to me at the very beginning, I need to have a website. He has been the one who got me into the world of social media, got me on to that platform. He has designed every website that I have had. I'm actually going to change this so that we've got a little bit more room here. He has designed every postcard that you've all seen out there. He's designed every mug that you've seen for the shows. Glen Charlow is my designer, friend, confidant. Glen, welcome.
You make me sound ancient, but wow.
Well, you've been there all along.
Well, it's been a pleasure doing absolutely everything for you, Richard, because I enjoy my work more so than, oh God, I got to do another design. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy working for you too. It's our friendship has meant so much to me that I just, I want to see you succeed in everything that you do. And I'm glad to be
Thank you. We have our moments. We have our ups. We have our downs. Sue is watching. Sue is my soulmate, my sister. We have our ups. We have our downs. We know each other better than anybody. And you and I, Glen, are in the same boat. We know each other better than anybody. You know where the bodies are buried. So there you are. But I want to ask you the same question that I asked Deborah. What was the first piece of music that you ever bought?
Wow. That I myself or like mom bought for me?
Either or.
Well, I remember my mom got me the Wizard of Oz album because it was my first school play in, I believe it was either 3rd or 4th grade. Like all the classes were learning different songs for the show. And my class was learning Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. And that she got me that album and I listened to it over and over. And that's how I actually learned the words of the song.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's amazing how certain things like the Wizard of Oz, those of us who are of a certain age, baby boomers, we grew up, we were all connected with a movie, no matter where we came from, that we had that connection that tied us all together. I want to ask you, because the world is in a little bit of a chaotic place right now, but I want to ask you, Glen, what really put you in a good mood this week?
That's very easy. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was helping a friend of mine, a very good friend who is an old friend from here in Baltimore. I'm in Baltimore. we met in Boy Scouts many, many, many years ago. We lost touch. He moved to Wisconsin. I moved to New York. We lost contact for many years, for most of my time in New York. Once I moved back to Baltimore, we got back in touch with each other. I think we were friends on Facebook for a while, and then we spoke to each other. He is now disabled. He has different skin diseases, and he can't walk very well. He walks with a walker. He needed to move. Unfortunately, he's a heavy smoker, and he was evicted from his apartment, and he needed to find a place to live. So he was doing all the searching himself, and I picked him up occasionally here and there and took him to new places to find. He finally found a place in downtown Baltimore, not far from me, not far from a theater that I like to dibble in. And Tuesday, I took him shopping, his final little shopping in the old apartment. Wednesday, I picked him up and we went, I took him down to the new place to sign his lease. And Thursday, I went and helped him pack up and moved him down there. So I'm very happy that I was able to help him with that. And that's it.
Well, you and Deborah both this week, service. That's, to other people. So God bless you for that. I want to talk about someone who has put me in a very good mood through COVID. And that's the next guy that I'm going to bring on here. And he's already here on screen. Ron Spivak has done these incredible cocktail parties that virtually, that thank you, Ron. He's invited me to. And that's how we've gotten to know each other over the past year and a half. And some mutual friends, new friends that I've met, Ron being a new friend that I've met over the past year and a half. It's hard to believe, almost 2 years. I'm not always able to be there, but when I'm able to get there, I get there. So Ron, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Gosh, for many years, my wife and I would hold an informal get-together at Gallagher's every Friday night. We had a very dear friend who unfortunately is now no longer with us, Dan Langen, who was a retired Broadway press agent. And when I first met Dan, and this is about 20 years ago, he said, if you ever want to find me on a Friday night, I'll be at the bar at Gallagher's. Mm-hmm. So my wife and I started going, and after a while, he became infirm. He couldn't make it all the time anymore. And then he passed away. And now, in the years since, my wife and I have been upholding that tradition. And when the pandemic hit, we kind of panicked. We said, oh, my God, what are we going to do without our Friday night at Gallagher's? So we started inviting all of our theater friends to a virtual Friday night. And little by little, that group has grown, and people have come and gone. And we're just so glad to have Richard in our lives now.
Well, thank you so much. And I also want to tell everybody, this is your birthday week.
It has been, yes. And
yes.
And actually, I was hoping you were going to ask me the question about, what has kept me cheered up this week. And I really was not looking forward to my birthday. I mean, we all reach that age when we don't look forward. And I'm even dropping my earpiece now. And then Wednesday came, and more than 150 people came out of the woodwork to wish me a happy birthday, either on Facebook or by email. And I was just so overwhelmed at the outpouring of love, including from people I haven't heard from in literally decades, that made it a very special week.
That's incredible. And that is truly the best gift of social media and Facebook, that outpouring of love on someone's birthday, because I felt that earlier this month myself. So thank you all to everyone who did the same thing. So, but I'm going to ask you the same question. What was the first piece of music that you bought or that was given to you that you remember?
I remember very well. I must have been about 9 or 10 years old, growing up in suburban New Jersey, and I was even then a budding musical theater enthusiast, and we had a neighbor, and this is rather telling. I didn't realize how telling it was at the time, but she was an elderly lady whose name was Mrs. Shin,
Mm.
and you all, I'm sure, know the reference. And Mrs. Shin would invite me over to her home and would play albums for me. And there was one album in particular that I fell in love with, and she gave it to me for my birthday. And as I said, I must have been 9 or 10 years old. And it was the original cast recording of The King and I with Gertrude Lawrence and Yul Brynner. And that was the first album and the first cast album I ever owned.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of cast albums, and today, 1973, you know what opened on this date in 1973?
73. Oh my gosh. This day, was it was either A Little Night Music?
It was A Little Night Music.
Oh my God, I got
and
it.
I ask about that because I'm going to bring on our next guest. He's
my God.
excited. Glen Rosenblum. Did you know that A Little Night Music opened on this day in 1970?
I think I saw it on. Hello, everybody. I think I saw it
Nice.
online, but that is so funny because I'm like taking notes here. Like, what if he asks me this? What if he asks me that?
Me too.
I want to get a good grade on this. And the thing that I'm grateful for, do you love how I just took over the whole thing?
Yes,
Oh, hi,
of course.
Richard. 2 years ago, I did a production of Ballroom here in Palm Springs, where I live, with Terry Ralston.
Mhm.
Oh.
And it was right before COVID. And when the show ended in February, like around now, Terry and I were like, oh, we have to have lunch together. Well, we just had that lunch this week. So that was a highlight for me. And as I won't insult the people watching how that ties into A Little Night Music.
Well, let everyone who's watching know how that
She's
ties
the
in.
original cast member,
Yes.
part of the quint. She was Mrs. Someone, Mrs. Lindstrom, or well, not that's Phyllis, but one of those characters. And it was her second original Sondheim part. She had originated the part of Jenny in Company. And
Nice.
I think she was all of 24 at this point, or very young, very, very young, and originated those two roles. So I got to have that lunch finally with Terry, and that was really great. And it was hard to believe that 2 years had gone by.
Wow.
Like,
And I am proud to say, thanks to Glen, and we're going to talk about this for a moment, Terry will be on this show on Richard Skipper Celebrates on the 15th because they are doing a celebration of Stephen Sondheim's birthday on the 22nd.
We are.
Yes, in LA.
At the El Portal Theater.
Yes, and Jason Gra and Terry are both going to be joining me to talk about Sondheim and Little Night Music and all kinds of wonderful things. And Glen is producing this. So,
and I'm in it, and I found out what I was singing this week, and I'm very happy. I'll just say this. I've never sung a male love duet before on stage.
Now, are you singing it alone or with someone else?
No, with someone else, and it is originally a male love duet.
Oh, that's wonderful. And who are you singing it with? Can you tell us?
With a wonderful performer named Zachary Ford.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's very exciting.
So, Glen, what was the first piece of music that you remember getting?
I think it was the original cast album of Milk and Honey, which was in many Jewish households on Long Island in the 60s.
Yes.
And that was really something. And if what I remember the most about it was that it was one of those RCA albums in living stereo, and you could hear Molly Pecan walking this way and that way. Was when they were doing that kind of thing. And I think that was one of the first albums that I can remember, which is a good one, right? Jerry Herman.
Absolutely. And I want to ask
Good
you,
choice.
what motivated you this week? What got you up and getting out there? And as I said, there's a lot going on in the world. We're aware of that.
Yeah.
But what motivated you to push through all of that and to do what you needed to do to get the things done that you need to get done this week?
Well, I've been busy with Musical Theater Guild and my friend Eileen Barnett, who's also going to be on your show. We've been putting together the Sondheim evening, and that has been very motivating for me because we were able to do it on his real birthday. And there are so many people that haven't been. I still have friends who have not gone to the theater yet because they're creeped out or scared, and I understand. I just recently started going again, and it's really nice to work on something collectively again, finally, after 2 years, something that I love.
Let me tell you about an experience of going to see a live show not too long ago. I bought tickets to see a birthday show before COVID hit. And the birthday show got pushed back, which we thought was going to be a few months. And then it got pushed back again. And the person that whose birthday it was is waiting in the wings. And I want to say what I'm going to say before I bring her on, because I don't want to embarrass her. So, but she can hear what I'm saying. And I'm going to say something, and I, honest to God, mean what I'm going to say right now. I have been following the trajectory of her career since seeing her for the first time at Don't Tell Mama. I am a fan. I consider her a friend. We've done benefits together. I've had her on the show. I love her. But seeing her at Feinstein's 54 Below after being away from live theater for so long, it was the first time that I was back seeing a live show again after a long time. I don't know if it was the adrenaline of seeing a live show again, of being in that kind of situation again. But when she hit the stage, I can only imagine what it was like seeing Judy Garland hit a stage, or Lena Horne, or Barbra Streisand. But when she hit the stage, she owned that stage. And that's the magic of Karen Mason. And I absolutely love her.
Wow. Thank you.
And
I wasn't sure what you were going to say. And I was like, oh, do I not show up?
No, and I have shared it, and I have said this, and I said this morning to Elliot. I've said this to so many people, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show today. I truly mean that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I want to ask you, what was the first piece of music that you remember buying or that was bought for you?
Well, I'm glad I've had 4 people to actually think about this, because I remember that my mom bought us what she thought was Meet the Beatles, and it turns out it was a Beatles already cover band from somewhere. So she had to return it to this place in St. Louis, is where we lived. She had to return it and get the Meet the Beatles, which I have a feeling was more expensive than the, Get to Know the Beatles or whatever the name of this album was. But that was the first one that I remember that was mine. And I didn't have to share it with my sister or anything. And it was, it's a very powerful thing to get your first piece of music. Very powerful.
Karen, what is the experience like for you, being on the flip side, if you will, of having now the fact that you have how many CDs or albums of your own? That first time that you are on a cast album, having possibly, like the rest of us, grown up listening to cast albums, to have that experience for yourself of being on a cast album.
Oh, it's thrilling. It's it's kind of otherworldly in a way because you think about it. I mean, if you're a performer or, this is something you think about. If you're a singer and you want to be in theater, you think about this a lot. And you think, this is what I really want to do. And then all of a sudden you're doing a cast album, and it's very thrilling. I've only had the chance to do 2, and both were very, very much fun. I wish one of them would have lasted longer, which was Wonderland, but
I was listening to it this afternoon. Wow.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. Yes. I love the music from this.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was very fun. It didn't deserve the fate it got, in my opinion, but you fall in love with the show when you're in it most of the time. And the other one was In the World Goes Round, which, I mean, who could not love singing Kander and Ebb?
Well, speaking of singing Kander and Ebb, talk about
Very good segue, right?
That was subtle.
Segue. You are going to be appearing at Birdland on March 28th. I've got it right there. Look at this photograph.
Always with my mouth open, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm going to be there March 28th, 7 o'clock. Kander and Ebb. First of all, when I hear Kander and Ebb, the first thing I think about, their music is so phenomenal, are the vamps.
Yeah.
Like the best vamps in the world. But what is it for you about singing their music?
Well, I think that my first connection to it was that I could sing it. So much of theater music when I was growing up was written for sopranos, and I was never a soprano, no matter how many voice teachers tried to push me in that direction. I just I don't have a soprano personality, just saying. And so I never have, I know. And so to be able to have songs that automatically kind of fit my voice was very exciting. And their optimism, they're so smart. Fred Ebb was a very brilliant lyricist, clever, smart, heartfelt. It was never so clever that you were on the outside of the joke. You were always right there on the inside of the joke. And then John Kander's, beautiful melodies they're just spectacular. And yeah, a girl loves a good vamp. I read something recently that John said that, he doesn't write vamps. He's never written a vamp. And I thought that was kind of interesting. He doesn't think of it as something he pursues. It just, happened that he is great at that. It's almost like what do they call it? The hook. It's almost like a great hook, like that. It's so smart and so brilliant, and just makes my job as a singer so much easier. You just have to listen to what the song tells you, and the music guides you along. It's very easy.
Well, I have to ask you, will you be on roller skates?
No. I would say most definitely.
You will tell the story about the roller skates.
Well, yeah, I sure will. And as a matter of fact, I just sent out an invitation to the cast from In the World Goes Round, and also Scott Ellis and Susan Stroman. And if they could come, it's on a Monday night, so a lot of theater is not. If they're available, I hope they will come. But I do tell the story about, being next to Bob Cuccioli, who it was his fault that I fell. I was on the end, and he went up on his skates, and I just, it was flat on my back in one of the numbers. And yeah, I like to point the finger right at him. And, but I hope they do come, because that is it's such a great story. That was so much fun. That was the hardest work I have ever done in a show. Hardest. Because you start at the beginning and you do not stop until the very end, you're on that train.
Absolutely. Well, I've got some fun questions that I'm just going to ask. Just like everyone, I want everyone to take a collective deep breath, and we're just going to let this week go. And I'll start with you, Glenn.
Which one? 1N or 2?
Glenn one note at the top. Glenn, what took energy away from you this week, and how did you get that energy back?
Wow. Well, it takes a lot of energy to move someone. That was where the majority of my energy went. And once I got home, I just relaxed, let it all go, had a little dinner, and sat and watched a little TV and went to sleep.
Good for you.
Basically, the energy was back the next morning.
And Deborah, I mean, with everything that's been going on in the world this week, and it's very difficult to, and we don't want to shut it out because it's so much a part of what's going on right now. But how are you able to just process what's going on in the world right now and then really go about with what you're doing and try to remain positive in the midst of everything?
I'm not really able to process it. I think it's too horrific to process it. I've been watching the news and then turning to the Hallmark Channel every once in a while to just sort of, okay, oh, that's not real. Okay, I have to go back to the real world. No, I'm having a very hard time processing it. If you must know, how can you? Basically, where do you put it in order to function? But I do function, and it's a very complicated question. I don't really know that I have a clear-cut answer. It's just been so abominable.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
you have to function. There's no choice.
Yes, I know that.
You just have to go for it.
Obviously, I'm functioning, but it is hard to process that. But yes, may I tell a very quick story of what happened today?
Absolutely.
I do, among other things, what they call standardized patient work, where you pretend to be a patient in the training of medical practitioners. And I'm very fond of this work, but today I was just a body on which they practiced ultrasound, and I was the only standardized patient there. And so instead of using 2, this is how I got exhausted today and had to lose my energy entirely, believe it or not. There was supposed to be 2 of us there, and half of the group was supposed to be on heart and lungs over there, and then legs and vessels over here. And I said, well, look, why doesn't half of you go on my legs and the other half? And I said, that's a really good idea. So for 3.5 hours, I had the glop, the goo, and you'd think it was, I would fall asleep, but by the time I got out of there, I was brain dead. I was like, I really need to focus on my show. And then I said, no, I can't focus on my show right now. I can barely focus at all. And one more comment, Karen, you and I were the only ones who had an album that had nothing in the world to do with musical theater as our first album. I let you know that. We share that. So I appreciate that. But anyway, I hope I answered the question somewhat.
No, you did.
Okay.
Ron, I want to ask you, what inspired you this week?
Oh my goodness. Wow, I'm a blank. Well, as I said before, just having so many people come out of the woodwork to wish me happy birthday, it took me out of myself. It took me out of my own problems. Sometimes we all get mired down in things like our day jobs, if I can use that expression. I've had a lot of change in my life lately in terms of what am I doing with myself? What am I doing to pay the bills? And then, you get people who just show you that outpouring of love, and you say, well, no, I'm not the only person in the world. Right. And there are people out there who care, and not just about me. They care about me. I care about them. We all care about everybody. And I was going to say a minute ago, just in terms of what's going on in the world, I went for a haircut the other day, and it was a new hairdresser that I'd never met before. She was new to the barber shop, and she was terrific. She was doing a wonderful job. And I said, where are you from? You know, just making conversation. And she said, I'm from the Ukraine.
Oh,
And I just felt like I wanted to crawl under the chair. But you think, well, what do you say? What can you possibly ever say that's going to, I mean, obviously nothing can make it right, but what can you say to even give that person a feeling of, you know, that they matter, or that you care about them, and no matter what you say, it comes out sounding cliche.
absolutely.
But you know, you do what you can, and we all do, of course, and we have to just keep getting out there and protesting or voting or whatever we do, and the fact, Deborah, that you brought flowers, I think that's just wonderful. I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Glen R., can you give us a little bit of the backstory on how the project, the Sondheim project, came about, and how this and the road that led to this project that you're doing?
Well, Musical Theater Guild is an organization that's been in LA for 25 years. We like to think of ourselves as the West Coast Encores, because we do the shows for 29 hours, and you put on MAME after 29 hours. And we perform at the Alex Theater in Glendale.
Beautiful theater, by the way.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Did you know that they tried out Mildred Pierce at that theater? It was considered out of town in Glendale.
Wow. Do you know, I saw Sayonara at that theater.
Wow.
It was supposedly pre-Broadway, and it never came in.
I remember.
And I was
that,
an opening night, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. It has the long. It was designed by the same people who did The Egyptian in Hollywood.
Yes.
It's really beautiful.
I remember it very well.
You know, Richard, we haven't performed in 2 years. So we were not sure when we would get back into the Alex Theater, and we decided to do the show at the El Portal in North Hollywood.
Oh, nice theater.
And yeah, has anyone been there? It's so beautiful.
Theater.
But they call it the main stage is the Debbie Reynolds stage, because when she lived in Burbank, she was an usher there, or used to walk there from her home. And it's shocking that it has not been torn down and turned into a Bed Bath & Beyond. It is a beautiful, beautiful theater. So we've all been meeting on Zoom, and so we're going to do a live show, and that's what we needed to get our feet wet before we do our first. We've canceled 2 seasons so far.
And you've got such a phenomenal cast. Except for Jason Graw, who I can't understand why you would hire him. He has no talent.
I love Jason Graw. I love him.
Jason's so great.
I love Jason Graw. I'm crazy about it.
He truly makes me laugh out loud.
Oh.
Me too. Just looking at him when he.
Yeah.
His name.
If I may, Elliot. I mean, my husband Elliot wanted to watch his interview again with you, Richard. We brought it up the other day because he says, "Let's watch Jason Graw." He's so funny. I love his. So yeah, he was just terrific.
Just love him.
And it's so wonderful, Richard, that you were able to bring that out of him, because he's just so introverted on his own. You know?
So Karen, I'm going to ask you this question: what did you not enjoy doing this week?
I can tell you right now. It was this afternoon, actually. I am having to describe. I'm submitting a proposal for a concert series. I'm submitting myself for their concert series, and so I'm having to describe. I'm having to put together and then write up a little description of the shows, and I truly hate it. I sit there and I stare and think, how do you describe a show you do without sounding so arrogant. And so, it's like the magnificent Karen Mason sings.
And I really blow myself
songs
away
from-
with this song.
That's right. I love her storytelling and her. But if you're trying to sell somebody on you, you have to do that. And
Mhm.
it just, it was not my favorite thing to do this afternoon. But I got it done. So that's
good for you. You get through it. And well, Glen, you may have already answered this but let's think of something else that you've done this week. What activities gave you purpose beyond helping your friend move this week?
Well, since coming back here, back to Baltimore, I have somehow fallen in. Well, I've gotten involved. Let's put it this way: I've gotten involved with my old neighborhood association, and as you well know, I've mentioned this many times that I'm now the president of the neighborhood association. How was the question again? Actually,
What activities have gave you purpose this week?
gave me purpose. Well, yeah. This association is now one of the members of the association happens to be my vice president, who I adore. I've known this woman for many, many years. I babysat for her kids back, many years ago. They're now 45, 50 years old. And she's my vice president. She's all set on getting lights for a community sign that we just got put up. And we had the choice of getting reflective lettering put on the sign, and we chose not to because that was too expensive. So instead, we went with a coating on the sign that's non-graffiti coating.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, the sign is up. It's lovely. The community loves it. Now she's sad because you can't see the sign at night because we didn't put lights on it or anything. I read somewhere that lights aren't allowed on community signs. I'm not 100% sure. I think I read it somewhere, but she's dead set on putting lights on the sign.
I've got a perfect solution.
What?
It should be voice activated that when a car passes by, you hear Karen Mason blaring out colored lights.
That settles it. I'll bring it up to the board.
By Kander and Ebb.
Yes,
Yeah, that's right.
With a vamp.
With a vamp.
Gotta sell
That's
those
it.
tickets, baby.
Right.
That's right.
But she, we took a vote at a community meeting, and people voted on no lights for the sign. She took it slightly different, and she's continuing to look for lighting for the sign.
Well,
So she came up with an idea that I somewhat kind of agree with. It's kind of nice. It's instead of putting lights on both sides of the sign shining up, which will be stolen or vandalized or whatever, probably. We found these toppers to go on both poles at the top, make it look like a lamppost. And those two lights are solar energized,
Oh, wow.
and they should light up the sign. So that's good. So then it's up to really, I needed to write an email to the board and say, listen, this is the next proposal. And I felt pretty good about that. I felt pretty good about saying, okay, I guess let's propose this now. Already, I mean, this was just this afternoon that I wrote this email to the board saying, this is the new proposal. How about these lights on top of because I wasn't for any lighting at all. But I'm quite proud of the fact that I stepped down a little bit and just said, okay, let's go for it, but let's ask the board.
mm-hmm.
So far, the board's in my favor. We already voted no. Why are you asking again? So that's,
Well, I hope everybody gets what they want. Deborah, what are you reading this week that you recommend?
Is this a trick question, Richard Skipper?
No, it's not.
I'm reading several books. I'm reading the what is it called? The Something of the Heart. Tell me what it is.
Atlas of the Heart.
Atlas of the Heart, because that's part of our book club. I just finished a book, Jonathan Schwartz's memoirs, which was fascinating. And I'm reading a book that I got at the library about the Fillmores East and West, which is insane. because I used to go to the Fillmore East all the time. I had no idea it was quite as crazy as this. And I'm reading another book called Educated, which is sort of a memoir about a Mormon. I generally read 3 or 4 books at once. So that's
Good
what
for
I do.
you. Good for you.
Yep.
Ron, what's
Yes.
the challenge that you faced this week that you learned a powerful lesson about yourself?
Oh, well, in the last several years, and certainly even more so during the pandemic, I've had to transition from being primarily an actor and a singer. I've become more of a writer, and I'm actually writing lyrics, book and lyrics, but mostly lyrics for 2 musicals and the possibility of a third. And
Oh.
lately, a few things have happened where people are slow to respond to queries that you put out, or things that you want to make happen, and I've learned patience because I've had to learn that when people don't get back to you, it's not necessarily anything personal, but people have their own lives and their own agenda, and they're very busy, and so I've learned a lot of patience this week.
Mazel tov to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
For you. And Glen R. I was reading this today. I'm going to read this to you. It says, sometimes the littlest things offer us a fresh perspective. Discovering a cool new version of a favorite song reminds us to look at life from a different angle sometimes. Today, look at a new version, and you said you're working on a new duet, so this may be the perfect question for you. Today, look at a new version of a song that you've loved for some time that inspires you to look at it from a different angle. A song that you've known for a long time, looking at it from a different angle. Have you looked at a song that you've known for a long time from a new angle recently?
Well, I'll tell you who I discovered recently, and I'm mortified that it has taken me this long to really listen to his music. Chet Baker.
Mm.
Where have I been? Where have I been? And I've heard some of his music, but I didn't like obsess like I should have. And I finally got to see the national tour. I had never seen the band's visit. And one of the characters talk about Chet Baker in there. And I was like, what is that? I need to know exactly what that reference is because it was so important to the show. Well, wow, what I have been missing out on all these years. And what I realize is that so many performers that I love, I know were influenced by him. Leslie Whitfield, Blossom Dearie. I hear all of their John Pizzarelli. Oh my God. It's like John Pizzarelli must have been weaned on Chet Baker. And so that's been very fun to tell ALEXA. I can't say it because she'll go on.
Yes.
Play that music. Karen, you just took you a while to spell that.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Because if you say that name, she starts telling you things you.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Mine too. She's right here next to me.
But yeah, that's so funny that
It's
you
like
would
that
bring
name
that
is
up. Yes,
taboo.
I have been blown away by. I'm mad at myself. How did it take me this long?
Well, the bottom line is you got there.
I did.
That's great.
Excited about it. Someone new.
That's great. Karen, what gave you an added boost of energy this week?
I decided that there were certain people that every time we do a function together, we say, "Oh, let's get together," and of course we never do. And so I decided to take the the responsibility of calling and saying, "Let's get together and have coffee." And I'm so glad I did, because this is somebody who is I've adored her for years, and we always have a great time and giggle like, sixth graders. And then we had just a fantastic hour and a half of blabbing and catching up, and we've decided to do it every week.
Good for you.
Yeah, and it just
Oh.
honestly, you know, it was so, with all of the stuff that's going on, it's like we all have to kind of put it into like little places in our brain and then be able to appreciate the little things that happen. And that was just so fun. It was so much fun. And she's so, you know, she's so alive as a person. So it was really great.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Glenn, who was the scariest person you encountered this week? And how did you get past that person?
Me?
Yes.
I'm Glen R. I'm Glen R. I caught on to that.
The
You're
scariest
just Glenn, like Liza.
Yeah.
I'm
Was
Glen.
it meeting the other Glenn?
I know there's other Glens out there with two N's, you know.
Yeah.
The scariest.
Oh,
Other
excuse me. While you think about that for a moment, Carol Channing and Carol Burnett did a television special together. And of course, you know, Carol, every time they call Carol, you know, they both go, huh? And so Carol says, I've got it figured out. I'll be Carol with a K.
Oh,
That's
that's
all she
wonderful.
said.
That's wonderful.
So anyway, Glenn, so go ahead.
I can't think of any scary people that I've come across this week.
Even the lady with the lights?
Even last week. She's scary in her own way, but you know, we haven't seen each other in person this week, just speaking on the phone. She emails me 3 times a day and calls about 5 times a day.
That's pretty
Even-
scary.
Pretty
Even
scary.
since we've been on even since we've been on this interview here, my
Wow.
phone here, it was on silent and she's rang twice.
I'm going to send her the lights. She's going to get them. Deborah, what is something that you're really good at that would surprise your friends that they don't know that you're really good at that?
What kind of show is this anyway? Really good at that nobody knows. I don't think I have any secrets from friends. Good at. Hold on. Well, you know I play guitar and sing. You know that. You know I sing. Oh, you know I used to dance. I mean, there's nothing that maybe there's something I don't know yet.
Right.
That I'm really good at.
There's still time.
Sorry.
And Ron, you mentioned that you have that you're discovering yourself again as a writer. What actions did you take this week in that direction?
Oh gosh, been making a lot of calls. I have one musical that is nearly finished, and we are hopefully starting to set up some readings soon. And I've been putting feelers out there, trying to just get the pieces in place for that. And also, I was hoping you were going to ask me the book question, because
Okay, well, I'm gonna
my wife gave me, and this is going to show you what a nerd I am. My wife gave me, at my request for my birthday, this edition of Roget's Thesaurus, which
Wow.
this is the huge one. That was the last one they did before they went to dictionary form. But this is the kind where you can actually go through and look at categories of words.
Oh, wow.
And it's the biggest one I've ever seen. But that just shows you, and also this library behind me shows
I'm
you
envious of. That's
what we
great.
like. Anybody want to come over and browse? You're always welcome. Most of this behind me is actually my wife. She's the writer and the avid reader in the family. But I write, she reads, to quote from a Richard Rogers show that
Wow.
I'll let you all guess.
Yes. Glen R., based on the week that you've just had, what's one question that you think that you need to ask yourself more often?
Are you or are you not crazy?
And the answer?
Most often not.
Okay.
Like, just, listening to the news and you're like, what did they just say? And you have to rewind,
Yes.
You think you're nuts.
Yes.
Or I'll read an article in the Times and go, am I reading this correctly? And then you realize that you are reading it correctly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen, did you make any new connections this week?
Maybe one, but it's not necessarily it's not from the very start new. It's somebody I've known for a long time that I just got back in touch with this was a totally different thing. This was kind of a business thing. And yeah, I feel like I'm trying to be more proactive and, not wait for everyone to come to Jackson Heights. That I'm trying to be more proactive and get out there and keep in touch with people, which is not something I do very easily or very well.
And I have this calendar, believe it or not, of positive affirmations. And I pulled this positive affirmation for today. And I'm going to end on this note today. And it says, the giraffe reminds me to stretch myself to take healthy risk. It's a practice I'll be more mindful of as we go through this year. And I'm thinking as we go through this week, we're about to go into March, as we go into the next month. Today's self-love action. This weekend, as I go about my normal routine, I'll consider how I can stretch myself, just like the giraffe sometimes stretches, to find the best leaves and twigs to eat. In which areas of my life might I venture safely outside my comfort zone and take a healthy risk? And I'll start with you, Glenn. Where can you take a healthy risk this week?
Wow. Well, going back to my friend who I helped move, he's also on disability. It's the only money he receives each month. And he asked me a while back if I would help him out financially with just one certain little thing. And I think it would be nice and healthy to give him a little bit of what he wants, just as a borrowing. Of course, I watch a lot of People's Court, and I know how to do it. So he agrees that it would be a loan, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's a nice healthy thing to do. He needs a little bit of help, and I'll help him out a little bit financially because if I can, I will. And I think that makes me feel really good.
That's great. Deborah?
Oh, God. Well, this would be back to the self-love thing because I'm not really good at that, as you might know. I am taking a healthy risk. I'm stepping out of my financial comfort zone. I'm getting new pictures done to promote my show, and I'm, all the bells and whistles and the whole thing. So that's a healthy risk for me. I almost postponed it because I was going, well, geez, money here, money there. And so, but I'm doing it because, Lena also says I need a good, and you listen to Lena. I listen to you. I listen to Lena. I'm just doing that because it's a healthy risk for me to take. It's not going to be a big risk. It's going to be a financial risk, but it's going to all be good. So I guess that's my answer to that question.
Okay, Ron?
Oh, man. I've always been very, very bad at promoting myself on a personal level. If I'm in a show, I'm like the biggest rah-rah, go show, and I'm very good at promoting that. But to promote myself, to promote my own personal work I've always found very difficult. And I have to push myself to get more feelers out there in terms of my day job, get the resumes out, get the portfolio put together, in terms of my writing, to find people who want to do this stuff, find producers, find directors. And it's always been hard for me to be my own cheerleader. And so that's my resolution, if you will, is to just get better at that.
Good for you.
Too modest.
Okay, good for you. Glenn R?
Well, let's see. Well, this feels like my therapy sessions because I do it all on.
That's what this is. Yes. Yes.
Karen, will you play the role of David, my therapist?
Yes. So, Glenn.
To exercise letting go and forgiveness. That's a tough one.
Bravo.
That's a risk.
That is.
Oof.
And Karen.
I can't top that one. That's
you can take it.
I mean, I'm not good at that. I will try that. I'll give it a shot. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, saying no is a big thing. It's we all grow as performers and artists. It's always take what you can get. Say yes to everything.
They want me. I
yeah,
have to
right.
do it.
Yeah. How popular am I? They want me for this next non-paying thing. And
they like me. They like me.
They like me, right? And so to be able to, it actually all kind of intertwines with the self-confidence and self-worth. And, also as I'm getting older, it's easier to look at the choices and to step back a little bit and go, yes, I really want to do that. No, I really don't want to do that. And be copacetic with it, as opposed to beating myself up, and feeling guilty about not being the nicest person in the world, and being, so that for me is something that is stretching for me, but I do love the one about forgiveness. I think is really powerful.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. Let's see. I want to give away a mug. Let's see. And I'm going to say how this happens.
I want to know how Deborah got her mug.
Yes.
I want a mug.
I want a mug.
Me too.
I'll make sure you all get a mug. Pam Stubbs. Pam already has a mug coming her way. It's real, Pam. So Pam, call me. We'll give you something else. Maybe I'll give her a Karen Mason CD.
Ooh.
I'll
send it to you. Tell me where she lives.
Will you do that, Karen?
Sure, I will. Of course.
Yes. So we'll do that. How's that, Karen? Pam. Yes. So I'm going to take this off.
Yay, Karen.
And I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody who showed up. I know that I can speak for everyone here. We don't take it lightly when you show up. Thank you. Keep showing up. Deborah Stone has a show. Is it in June, Deborah?
Yes.
You'll be where?
It's going to be a Pangeo, 2 dates in June. Brand new show.
Okay.
And I'm using a bass player.
Who are you going to be using?
Wonderful Tom Hubbard is going to join John Cook and me.
Hubbard.
That's psyched.
One of the best in the business. Ron, what's coming up next for you?
Just more writing, and it's a little ways off, but in September, I know that's a long way off. September, I'm going to be on the coast of Oregon at a music festival, doing several shows actually with a full symphony orchestra and with the great Steve Ross.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Glen, I know you've got a celebration of Stephen Sondheim coming up.
Tuesday, March 22nd, which would have been his next birthday. I don't know which one.
My sister's birthday too, as well. So yeah.
So that's very exciting. Musicaltheaterguild.com.
That's great.
Nice evening.
And Karen, the 28th at Birdland. I can't wait.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I love this show. I love this show a lot.
And if you'll wear roller skates, I'll wear them too.
Well, I'll have to go out and purchase them first.
And Glen Charlow will continue, but Glen also is an actor, and Glen is about to open in the Mousetrap.
Oh,
ooh!
Wow!
There it is now.
Way to go, Glen!
Are you going to be performing with your stage name, Glen?
Now that I've met you, I have to think about that one.
Okay, all right.
But no, it opens April 15th, and it's just a local production here.
There's nothing just about being on stage at all.
No.
Well, Glen, Pam Stubbs is not far from you. Can we get a couple of tickets for Pam Stubbs?
Sure. Where is she?
Well, she's not far from. I know she's just outside. Pam, where exactly are you? But she's just outside of Baltimore.
Oh, okay. Because I'm in Pikesville.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll be sure to get the tickets. That would be great.
So it's your lucky day, Pam.
I'm playing Mr. Pallavicini.
So anyway, I want to
Wonderful.
thank you all for being here, everyone. We're back here next Friday at 5 o'clock as we wrap up the week. I hope you all had a great time, and go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I end every show by telling everyone to do that. Go to your Facebook friends list and pull up the, let's say today, the 8th name that pops up, and reach out with a phone call, not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call, and let that person know what they mean to you. As our dear friend Karen Mason, I hear a rumor that you are going to London with David Friedman.
Yes.
Ooh.
And David Friedman always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat.
Yes,
and I
that's
always
true.
say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along.
Oh, excellent.
So, Karen,
I see how you did that.
Karen, when are you going to be in London?
It's a Sunday, April 24th, I think, actually. So the 29th probably wouldn't work out with Elliot, but April 24th, we're in London, and then we go to Positano.
Ooh.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Well, everybody, I love you. Everybody
Thank
have
you,
a great night.
Richard, so
And,
much.
Deborah, I'll be seeing you sooner rather than later.
That's
I love
right.
you. Okay. Good
Happy
night.
birthday, Ron.
Oh, thank you. So great to meet all of you.
Goodbye.
You too.
All right.